Unless you've been living under a rock, you know that Justin Bieber has got Lyme disease. And that's exactly the reaction I get every single time. What? What is Lyme disease? And is it Lyme's disease? Is it Lyme? What is it? So what I wanted to do today was give you a bit of a rundown on Lyme disease so that you actually have an understanding of it, because this is something that has grown so much over the last decade. It has become more and more common, and it is one of those issues that people are struggling to find how to manage it. So today's video is going to be a little hop, skip, and a jump throughout the entire process of what is Lyme disease, how does it work, what does it do, what to look for to see if you have it, and what to do if you think you have it. My name is Geeta Sidhu-Robb, and I run a health and wellness business in London called Nosh Detox. Let's get down to brass tacks. Lyme disease is caused by basically 4 main species of bacteria. And the thing with them is that they are really different in the US to Europe and Asia. And what they are is a tick-borne illness. Lyme disease is actually transmitted by the bite of an infected black-legged tick. It's actually known in the US as a deer tick. So what that means is that you're much more likely to get Lyme disease if you live or you spend time in grassy and heavily wooded areas where ticks carrying Lyme disease thrive. This is one of the very few instances nature is literally not your friend. Now, for the majority of us, this is not something that we do. However, when you visit somewhere that is heavily wooded, or you go for a walk in nature, or you're going to walk through grasslands, or you're on holiday and finding yourself, this is something that can happen to you, because it is happening to, you don't look at Justin Bieber and think, oh my God, nature woodland, do you? What you actually think is pop star. So if he can get it, it's really something that we want to be super careful about. So what you want to do is take really basic, normal, common sense precautions in tick-infested areas. What I have here is the world-renowned Mayo Clinic's Lyme disease list of symptoms. They are basically talking about what you do and how you do it. Because for many places, actually, Lyme disease has been considered absolutely incurable, which is scary. The signs and symptoms of Lyme disease completely vary, just to make it more difficult. So usually they appear in stages, but the stages can kind of overlap. They're not like this, then this, then this, then this. Now, early signs and symptoms. When you get a small red bump, which is very similar to the bump of a mosquito bite, right? That's the thing that you're looking for. It will come up at the site of a tick bite, or it'll come up where you took off a tick, let me say, and it actually goes away after a few days. Now, this does not indicate Lyme disease, you'll be happy to know. But if you then, within about a month after you've had a tick bite or been struggling with like taking a tick off, you want to then look out for these symptoms. Number 1, look for a rash. From 3 to 30 days after a tick bite, you might get like an expanded red area that sometimes sort of clears in the middle and forms like a bullseye pattern. That is an issue. It has a very funky name. It's called erythema migrans, and it slowly expands and can go up to 12 inches wide. So normally this rash is really not itchy, it's not painful, but it does feel a little bit warm to the touch. Now, just to confuse you, not everybody with Lyme disease does get a rash, but some people will get it in many different places in their body. Right. Other symptoms: fever, chills, fatigue, body ache, headache, neck ache, swollen lymph glands. Now, to me, this is a little bit like glandular fever, so I'm not going to lie, you want to be careful and you want to see which one that you're actually working with. But if you ended up with a bunch of symptoms like that, you should anyway be going to try and get yourself treated. Now, if you at this stage don't treat this, then you get more and more signs and symptoms of Lyme infection actually bedding in and turning up. So over the following weeks to months, what you would then be looking for is, well, the rash, which then starts to spread and appear on different sides of your body, severe joint pain and swelling. Really, really, and usually around your knees. But the pain can shift from one joint to other joints, so it's not just your knees, but in your knees. You can get neurological problems, and these come up weeks, months, and even years after the infection. You can get inflammation of the membranes in your brain, like temporary meningitis. You can get paralysis of one side of your face. You can get numbness or weakness in your limbs, and you can get impaired muscle movement. Those are like really big things. You're going to go to a doctor at this stage, and actually doctors are getting better and better at going, could this be Lyme disease? Because some of these things, they don't know where they just unexpectedly came from. Now, there are some you're still with me, right? You haven't gone off and just passed out. Don't do that. The less common signs and symptoms, we're nearly there, are that several weeks after an infection, people develop kind of like an irregular heartbeat, eye inflammation, liver inflammation, hepatitis, and then severe fatigue. So at this stage, you really, really need to go and see a doctor. Now, let's start here. If you have actually been bitten by a tick and have any symptoms, please go see a doctor. The good news here is that only a minority of tick bites lead to Lyme disease, not the majority of them. This is like a small percent of the population. But the longer the tick, I'm like getting a bit, squiffy about talking about ticks, but the longer the tick stays attached to your skin, the likelier it is that you're going to actually get the disease. But if you get a tick which is attached for less than 36 hours, like you've noticed it, and by the way, you should be noticing it, then it's much, much better. But, if you think you've been bitten, if you think you have signs and symptoms of Lyme disease, and actually, particularly if you live in an area where Lyme disease is prevalent, and I swear to God, you're going to know about this, check it out, contact your doctor. The treatment for Lyme disease. Now, this is so much more effective if it's begun early. So see your doctors, even if you kind of get some symptoms and they go away. It's much, much better to be safe than sorry. Because actually the absence of symptoms, and this is true for so many illnesses, doesn't mean that the disease is gone. It sometimes means that it's gone inward into the body and it's spreading to other parts of the body for ages and causes, and the problem with Lyme disease is that it causes symptoms that are so similar to other things that people don't always pick it up, and that ends up being one of the problems. So where you live, where you go on holiday can really affect your chance of getting Lyme disease. So if for any reason, your profession, what you like to do is to be outdoors, you need to watch out for this. Watch out if you spend time in wooded or grassy areas. And particularly like in any forests and woods, right? So children who spend a lot of time outdoors are particularly at risk because kids don't notice this stuff so much. Adults who spend their whole day outside, also an issue. If you are outside and having exposed skin, that is really a problem because ticks attach to bare skin. So you want to be protecting yourself by wearing long sleeves and long pets. And also they attach to your pets. So don't let them wander without checking them out. If you get a tick, panic now. Remove them as quickly as you can because the longer that they stay attached, the worse it actually is. So ultimately what we want to know is that if you have been bitten by a tick, go see a doctor. Go and check out within a week, a month, and then 6 months later. Because if you start coming, just calendar it, go and do it. Because if these things start to come up, it's something you want to be clear about. And you know what? It is 100 times better to be safe than sorry. So be super, super careful about it and take those simple precautions that I mentioned before. Make sure that you cover up. Make sure that you have all your bare skin is covered up. Put your pants into your socks, long sleeve shirts, hat, gloves, cover your neck area, stick to trails. Don't walk through long, bushes and grass. Keep your dogs on a leash. Well, if they are running around, then check them when they come back. Use insect repellent when you're in grassy areas or if you're in places where Lyme disease actually is prevalent. Make sure your kids are completely covered as well. What you can do is do your best to keep yourself clean. So when you come back in from your walks, check your pets, check your kids, check yourself, and make sure that you're completely fixed. Now, a tick is basically no bigger than the head of a pin. So it's something that you want to be super careful to watch for, and showering is one of the most efficient ways to actually pick them up and get rid of them. I hope that you have not gotten freaked out. I hope that this was helpful. And it is something to just assume that you are aware, you've taken care, you've actually been really careful with it. And now you're going to know what poor Justin Bieber is going through. And I feel for him, and I feel for the whole process of having to get around that. But the good news about getting any form of illness is that actually when you boost your immunity to manage that illness, you boost your immunity for the whole of your body. So please like if you liked. If you didn't like, tell me, and that's helpful because it teaches me what you do and don't want to hear about. And please subscribe so you know when I next put up videos.